Leo Tolstoy's Anna Karenina, Part 6, in which all our protagonists find the thin veneer of tranquility in their lives, tested by family and friends, with farcical and tragic consequences. Chapter 8. The next day, before the ladies were up, the hunting carriages, carts, and a small wagon stood at the entrance, and Laska, who since morning had understood that they were going hunting, having squealed and jumped her fill, got into the cart beside the driver, looking at the doorway through which the hunters had yet to come, with excitement and disapproval of the delay. The first to come out was Vasenka Veslovsky, in big new boots that reached halfway up his fat haunches, in a green blouse tied at the waist with a cartridge belt smelling of new leather, and in his cap with ribbons, carrying a new English gun with no swivel or sling. Laska bounded over to him, jumped up to greet him, asked him in her own way whether the others were coming out, but, receiving no answer, went back to her lookout post and again froze, her head cocked and one ear pricked up. Finally the door opened with a bang. Out flew Krak, Stepan Arkadyev's golden and white pointer, spinning and turning in the air, and then Stepan Arkadyevich himself came out with a gun in his hands and a cigar in his mouth. Good boy, Krak," he called tenderly to the dog, who put his paws on his stomach and chest, clawing at the game bag. Stepan Arkadyevich was dressed in brogues and leggings, tattered trousers, and a short coat. On his head was the wreck of some hat, but his new system gun was a jewel, and his game bag and cartridge belt, though worn, were of the best quality. Vasenka Veslovska had not previously understood this true hunter's dandyism, to wear rags but have hunting gear of the best make. He understood it now, looking at Stepan Arkadyevich, shining in those rags with the elegance of his well-nourished, gentlemanly figure, and decided that before the next hunting season he would be sure to set himself up in the same way. "Well, and what about our host?" he asked. "A young wife," Stepan Arkadyevich said, smiling. "Yes, and such a lovely one." He was already dressed. He must have run back to her. Stepan Arkadyevich had guessed right. Levin had run back to his wife to ask her once more if she had forgiven him for yesterday's foolishness, and also to beg her, for the Lord's sake, to be more careful. Above all, to keep further away from the children. They could always bump into her. Then he had to have her confirm once again that she was not angry with him for leaving for 2 days, and also to ask her to be sure to send a mounted messenger the next morning with a note, to write just 2 words, so that he would know she was well. Kitty, as always, was pained at having to be parted from her husband for 2 days, but, seeing his animated figure, which seemed particularly big and strong in hunting boots and a white blouse, and with the glow of some hunting excitement incomprehensible to her, she forgot her own distress because of his joy, and cheerfully said good-bye to him. "Sorry, gentlemen," he said, running out to the porch. "Did they put the lunch in? Why is the chestnut on the right? Well, never mind. Laska, enough. Go and sit down." Put them in with the heifers. He turned to the cowman, who had been waiting by the porch with a question about some bullocks. "Sorry, here comes another villain." Levine jumped down from the cart in which he already was seated to meet the hired carpenter, who was walking out to the porch with a ruler. "You see, you didn't come to the office yesterday, and now you're holding me up. Well, what is it?" "Let me make another turn, sir, to add 3 more steps, and we'll fit it right in. It'll be much more convenient." "You should have listened to me," Levine replied with vexation. "I told you to put up the string boards and then cut in the steps. You can't fix it now. Do as I told you. Make a new one." The thing was that the carpenter had spoiled the staircase in the wing that was being built, having constructed it separately and miscalculated the height, so when it was installed all the steps were aslant. Now he wanted to leave the same stairs in place and add 3 more steps. It'll be much better. "But where will it come out with these 3 steps?" "If you please, sir," the carpenter said with a scornful smile, "it'll go just right. I mean, it'll start out below," he said with a persuasive gesture, "and go up and come out just right. But 3 steps will also add to the length. Where will it end?" "Like I said, it'll start below and come out just right," the carpenter said stubbornly and persuasively. "It will come out under the ceiling and into the wall." "If you please, she'll start below. She'll go up and come out just right." Levine took a ramrod and began drawing a stairway in the dust for him. "There, you see?" "As you wish," said the carpenter, with suddenly bright eyes, obviously understanding the whole thing at last. "Looks like I'll have to make a new one." "Well, then, make it the way you were told," Levine shouted, getting up on the cart. "Drive. Hold the dogs, Philip." Levine, having left all his family and farming cares behind, now experienced such a strong sense of the joy of life and expectation that he did not want to talk. Besides, he had that feeling of concentrated excitement that every hunter experiences as he nears the place of action. If anything concerned him now, it was only the questions of whether they would find anything in the Colpeno marsh, how Laska would perform in comparison with Croc, and how successful his own shooting would be that day. What if he disgraced himself in front of the new man? What if Oblonsky outshot him? Also went through his head. Oblonsky had similar feelings and was also untalkative. Only Vasenka Veslovsky kept cheerfully talking away. Listening to him now, Levine was ashamed to remember how unfair he had been to him yesterday. Vasenka was indeed a nice fellow, simple, good-natured, and very cheerful. If Levine had met him while still a bachelor, he would have become friends with him. He found his holiday attitude towards life and his sort of loose-mannered elegance slightly disagreeable, as if he considered himself lofty and unquestionably important for having long fingernails and a little hat, and the rest that went with it. But that could be excused on account of his kind-heartedness and decency. Levine liked in him his good upbringing, his excellent pronunciation of French and English, and the fact that he was a man of his own world. Vasenka was extremely taken with the left outrunner, a Don step horse. He kept admiring it. How good it must be to gallop over the steppe on a step horse. Eh? Am I right? He imagined there was something wild and poetic in riding a step horse, though nothing came of it, but his naivete, especially combined with his good looks, sweet smile, and gracefulness of movement, was very attractive. Either because Veslovsky's nature was sympathetic to him, or because he was trying to find everything good in him in order to redeem yesterday's sin, Levine enjoyed being with him. Having gone 2 miles, Veslovsky suddenly discovered that his cigars and wallet were missing and did not know whether he had lost them or left them on the table. There were 370 rubles in his wallet, and it could not be left like that. "You know what, Levine? I'll ride back on this Don outrunner. That will be splendid, eh?" he said, preparing to mount up. "No, why?" replied Levine, who reckoned that Vasenka must weigh no less than 200 pounds. "I'll send my coachman." The coachman went on the outrunner, and Levine drove the pair himself. If you enjoy this format, please leave a like and subscribe and return tomorrow for the next chapter.